Today we're going to be talking about all of this stuff and what it means and what we use it for. Hey, how's it going out there, YouTube? Gun Psychiatrist here. In today's video, we're going to be talking a little bit about engineering and 3D printing. 3D printing is probably one of my favorite things to do next to gunsmithing and working on guns and all that fun stuff. My experience with 3D printing has been, well, more like 3D fixing. When I started 3D printing back in 2019, really the only technology available in an affordable price range was Ender. And I didn't just get an Ender 3, I upgraded the machine to do engineering grade work. But it seems like every time I turned around, all I would do is work on it until Bambu Lab came along. Of course, the X1 Carbon has been an absolute amazing machine. Very minimal time working on it and lots of time spent printing on it. And that's what I like. I don't have to fool with it a lot. I've just been totally impressed by the quality in engineering and craftsmanship that went into Bambu Lab's machines. That brings us to this. One of the problems people have with Bambu Labs is the filament. The filament's not cheap unless you buy 4 rolls. And if you get the refill rolls, they get a lot cheaper. So you end up buying a few of these spools, that come with the filament on the roll. This is only half of one, but the Bambu refill filaments, they come with these little labels on them that once they're on the spool, you pull the labels off and it releases the roll. Problem is, if you don't have other blanks or reusable spools, you don't want to be unwinding the filament and winding filament back up. That takes a lot of time, and you definitely do not want to take filament that has those release tabs off. Once those are off, you want to keep it on the spool till it runs out, because that can make a real big mess. Don't ask me how I know that. So really what has turned into is everybody on Maker World making their version of rolls, and I've just seemed to do the same thing. So my first version of the roll started off as these with ABS, and there's really nothing special with my rolls except for one thing. And anybody that's been 3D printing for any amount of time has realized that the one inconvenience is how to clip filament when it's not in use. But my one idea was, well, if we're printing the spool, why not just put the filament clip on the spool? And that way you never have to deal with bending your filament around a hole, and then you got to cut that piece of filament off and waste it, because, the X1 Carbon with the AMS wastes enough filament as it is. So by incorporating this feature onto the rolls, it's nothing else you have to print. It always stays with the roll, and it's oriented in different areas for a certain reason, which we'll get to. But then you just slide your filament in, and that's it. It holds it in place for you. And when you're ready to use it, you simply just pull it out. I have them on both sides of the rolls. And that was version 1. I've made these reusable spools to fit a wide range of filaments. Any of your general refill filaments, I know eSun and a few other vendors do refills, all the way down to Mica 3D, 3D X-Tech. I've made different spool adapters for different vendors that have some odd shaped geometry on their spools. Then I said, time to come up with a spool winder. And this thing's pretty simple, but it just chucks into the end of your drill with a 3/8 socket adapter for your drill. You start to wind it up. But then I had a problem. Some people think that as this spool is feeding filament into the machine, that these clips would have a tendency to catch the filament. That is not yet to happen. And I'll tell you why. There's 2 reasons. The first reason is, these are oriented in such a way that as the filament passes this point, the filament will not catch on it due to the orientation of this and the angle of the filament. Secondly, the filament receptacle inside the AMS is in the center. So no matter how close to the edge of this roll you get, the filament's always going to be pulled away from these geometric features. However, that's not the case when you go to rewind a spool of filament. Don't ask me how I know that. In rewinding a spool of filament, I have found nothing but these things catching the filament every chance they get. I mean, it sucks. It's not fun. And so that forced me to create Revision 2. Revision 2 is a little bit more lightweight than Revision 1, and it also prints a lot quicker. They come in 0.6 and 0.4 nozzle sizes in the 3MF file that you can find on my MakerWorld account. Just look up the Gun Psychiatrist on MakerWorld and I'm there. But also, I've included some features that stop the problem of the filament holders grabbing and trying to spool your filament up around the side of the spool. That won't happen with Revision B. And so that was fixed. And also there's a bunch of other things that I've included with these Revision B spools. Next to a lighter weight and faster print time, I've also come up with a spool container system that will only, as far as I know, it will only work on these spools. I have not tried it on my old spools, and I have not tried it on Bambu spools. It might work on all of them. I don't know yet, and I'll have an update to follow on that. This little container system right here, you can pack it with desiccant, or you can pack it with BBs if you need to add weight. You can go to Walmart and buy some BBs for a BB gun and just add it in here to add filament weight or to add weight to your spool for those that desire weight in their AMS. Or, you know, you can hide money in it. I don't know what you want to do, but there's all sorts of things you can use this for. And this simply inserts into the inside of the spool before you put it together. And then the end caps close onto the outside of the spool and it leaves a nice flush fit. The other thing I created with the system is a spool rewinder for rewinding spools. And the great thing with this is it actually has the pattern that the filament's going to make as it winds around the spool. Now, my filament winder is not one of these crazy mechanical doodads with all these gears and everything. Those are great, but they take a long time to print. They use a lot of material. It works just as good to have a spool rewinder that can wind up your filament real quick because it doesn't have to be pretty. It's going to come out, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I've yet to have any trouble with rewound filaments on this thing season up on me or anything like that. I actually have more problems with factory filaments season up on me. But I also have one of these that inserts into my spools that you can use to wind up filament on. Now, one thing I would recommend doing is making a relief cut with a small drill bit anywhere these holes are that you're going to feed filament in your spool. You don't have to go all the way through, but you can just get it enough. This way you have a place for the filament to go into. And I leave that up to the user to drill out. Not everybody might need to wind filament, so that's why it's not like that. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and set this puppy in there. It looks like it rolls nice. We'll load our filament. if you notice, the angle at which that filament comes off is not going to have them interfere with any of those geometric features on the side. And even from a side view, you can see how they won't interfere with those due to the geometric orientation they are around the spool. So I do have to apologize for the lengthy video because this was just supposed to be a video about a spool, but what started as a single part on Maker World has grown into an actual full-blown spool system now. Once again, just to review, we have the roll insert that you can 3D print from ABS. We have the spools themselves, and I love the hexagonal pattern. Another thing that I've upgraded is the lettering on here. I have lettering for each machine. So you can get this in the X1 Carbon or the Bambu P1 lettering, or you can just get it blank if you don't want anything on it, or you can write whatever you want on there. But to get these files, you're going to have to go to makerworld.com and look me up on MakerWorld. Of course, I am the gun psychiatrist on MakerWorld. And you can get this spool for the AMS. You can get the spool container. You can get the spool insert. And it's a pretty good system. As you can see, that that little threading I did on that spool does help with that first layer. And I honestly, if you took your time, you could use that to wind that filament perfectly on there. I don't have the patience for it, and it works just fine the way it is. So I just wound it up. But I put those on there specifically for users to help them with winding the filament. Once again, you can find all my models and all my creations for free for download at makerworld.com. And I would definitely like you to follow me over at MakerWorld so we can stay in touch. And I would love to hear your feedback about my designs, either on MakerWorld or in the comments below this video. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to my channel and also like this video so it gets out there and we can share this with the rest of the community. So if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and God bless America.